understand.
Yeah. Haven't had such a everything yeah. See what we're doing. And it's rare that we actually have UPA. That's scary.
It works.
Yeah, the forms are up there. Sign in. All right. Do it. Do it.
The owner and the design builder. Owner has a contractual relationship with the design builder.
Okay, so I'm Tim Boschert. I'm Director for Public Transit at UDOT. I've got staff here today also. Jump right into the present. Today we're going to talk about FTA funding, the Federal Transit Administration funding that comes through the Department of Transportation. We're known as the UDOT Public Transit Team. Primarily who we work with for our federal transit funds or public agencies, local governments, private nonprofits, as well as transit system providers across the state. We have our staff here today. We've got a staff of 6, including myself. And want to talk about some of the different federal transit funds, grant groups that we deal with through the department. All of the funds are national apportionments that come through the state of Utah, and we do pass-through funds on the different funding groups that you see here. We primarily operate what's called a Section 5300 grants, and primarily those grants come through DOT, through Federal Highways, Federal Transit Administration, as like I said, as a pass-through fund. The 5310, 5311 are two that we deal with most of through the local agencies, as well as the 5339 for our system operators. Talk about some of the individual grant groups here. 5304 are primarily used as planning funds to do planning transit studies, area studies, corridor studies, route research, that type of thing. It's a 80-20 match. It's almost an on-call type thing. We don't do a grant application on that. As the need arises, both knowledge through regional studies, regional needs, ideas that come up, then we'll consider funding on those studies. One of our larger groups, 5310, it's the enhancement for seniors and persons with disabilities. Primarily what we deal with are what I call specialized transit, the senior trips, disability trips, low income. It's a whole different segment that a lot of people aren't aware of in transit. Most people think of transit trips as fixed route, large over-the-road style bus type trips, fixed stop on a schedule. We do deal with those, the smaller systems outside of the urbanized area, but we deal with the specialized transit trips, those that have difficulty riding the fixed route and then become, say, a demand route type ride. The seniors disability group, that money comes to us for both the small urban and the rural area. It's not just the urbanized area. That money goes straight to UTA. They deal with the 4 county areas that they serve, Weber, Davis, Salt Lake, and Utah counties. We're everything outside of that, okay, for both bus, system, senior, all the specialized rides. We help them procure vehicles, buy some of the ADA vehicles, has some communication equipment on there, software as well. We can help with operating expenses, fuel, oil, driver salaries, that type of thing. And out of that money, we also have a program for what's called mobility management. And that's part of the coordination effort that goes in with all the trip making for all the specialized type trips. 5311 grant monies. It's expressly for the rural areas. We primarily use it on system operation. We have several different providers. I think there's 8 different systems in the state that we're helping out. In all cases, we are just assistance funding. We are not fully funding any operation, be it a public-private, nonprofit provider, system operator. We are assistants. We're very small chunk of money. But again, on the rural formula money, we help these systems procure buses and items that go on the buses. Again, the operations costs, some administrative costs, and again, the mobility management of coordinating rides with some of the fixed route systems and their specialized services. There's 2 other pullouts of the 5311 monies, one called Intercity Bus. So think of a Greyhound style bus that's running city to city and not inner city but intra-city. We hold out 15% of our overall monies, and that helps the program. Very, very similar to Greyhound style bus operation that occurs in the rural areas. We've got a Greyhound route that we subsidize from Denver to Salt Lake along Highway 40. We've got a route up and running through a private provider from Blanding to Salt Lake and Richfield to Salt Lake. And I'll talk about that one a little later. Our third pullout in 5311 is RTAP. It's Rural Transportation Assistance Program. It's basically our transit association for the state. Think of it as like Chamber of Commerce for all the providers and system operators that are in the state. It's a good association that provides training and contact and any outreach that we have to do through them. New category of funds that we started playing with in the last two years, 5329, Transit Safety and Oversight. This was programmed through UTA on fixed route transit, the light rail system that previously UTA certified on themselves when there was an accident investigation. It's kind of a conflict of interest. Federal Transit Administration pulled that out really through all the DOTs across the U.S. and said that the DOTs would handle that operation where there's fixed transit routes. Makes a lot of sense that you don't self-certify yourself, do an investigation on yourself when there is an accident. So we've housed that program within the DOT ourselves. We've been operating that for two years now. Probably our largest category of funds that we receive, 5339 bus and bus facilities. We use a chunk of this money for bus purchase as well as building acquisition, construction for our system operators across the state. Some of the fixed route, again, they're out in the rural areas. We do use a good portion of that money too to supplement the procurement of the buses for our specialized providers. Again, they can use it on bus and construction facilities. It's spread out both in the small urban areas as well as the rural areas of the state. So we have to spend a certain amount of the monies in, say, Logan and St. George areas above 200,000 pop, and then in the small urban areas as well down to the rural. So when we do spend money, part of what you have to do, and we do it in association with the Association of Governments, all the different AOGs across the state, at least for the 5310 monies, which is seniors and disabilities, you've got to have a coordinated plan. That coordinated plan helps to give you priorities then on how to spend the money. Very much like the state STIP, when we're doing a highway construction project, you've got to identify that need, identify project, and then prioritize the project so we can then advance the funding on it. Again, we'd look to the AOGs in their backyard, see who the providers are for both the specialized transit as well as fixed route, and determine what those needs are now and in the future. That plan itself, like I said, is trying to find out who the providers are that are willing to go after the federal dollars. Make sure that we're serving all these specialized, targeted populations. Come up with different strategies on how we're going to address that. Do they need more buses? Do we need better coordination? Any idea? There's different programs out there, voucher programs, that type of thing to address those needs. When we come up with those, then we prioritize them. Again, there's a set amount of money, so we're trying to deal with them on an annual basis of what their program is at the AOG level, as well as what the program needs are. Again, I can't stress enough that we are just assistance funding. We're not full funding on a lot of these programs and projects, so they get very selective. How much money are we planning? In general, it's about $9 million a year total in all those fund groups that I've talked about so far. We run our program just a hair different. We're a year in arrears, so we know what our total funding is as it comes in, what's a portion to the state. We're almost fully picked up all of our MAP 21 monies, 2013 and 14 monies. We're looking forward to 2015. Again, on average, it's grown about 1% a year, just like the highway funds. Our total being about $9 million a year. It's kind of a bump from what was Safety Lou and some of the monies that were coming in after Safety Lou wasn't pushed forward. As we moved into MAP 21, it was a lot clearer what funding was going to come down, and then as we're awaiting the new next GROW Act for the highway bill, and again, I would envision the monies to be about the same. Some of the regulations that go with it is what changes from year to year. I want to talk more about the AOGs and the service providers that are out in that area. Everybody familiar with the AOGs? I kind of look at the crowd. I know you guys, you know what Association of Government is. Five County Association of Government down in the southwest corner of the state. We have several providers that we interact with, okay, and they're listed there. We may not deal with everybody that's driving around out there that's serving the seniors, persons, disability, low income. There's a lot of providers that are out there driving around that just aren't on our radar or not receiving federal funds. But this is a list that we have contact with or we have a federal interest in, either in operations or a vehicle. Six County Association, just north of there, Richfield, we're dealing with just one group there. Mountain Land Association of Government. As I was saying before, we're not in the urbanized area, Weber Davis, Salt Lake, Utah, the service areas, Tooele, Morgan, Summit, Wasatch counties. We're participating in that. There's kind of a cross-pollination of funds. The urbanized area, That money goes directly to them for the Seniors and Persons with Disability 5310 fund. We do coordinate with them on their plans and their efforts, because the roads and the population do and don't have a boundary. Just because it stops at the county line doesn't mean that we stop service. So we're aware of the different interactions and service needs that go in and out of the urbanized area. Bear River up in Logan, fairly progressive group and a lot of good service providers up there. Tooele County, we've got an interest in a program out there through their aging group, County Aging, and a mobility manager. Southeast Association out of Price, we've kind of had to kickstart them again in the last few years, but they've got several good programs, several providers. Uinta Basin out in Roosevelt, they've also got a system provider out there. And Wasatch Front, kind of in the main core of the urban area. There's several providers we've dealt with in the last few years. And again, everybody on the list, that's not the total list of groups. These are just ones that we've had assistance and funding with. As I mentioned, there's some fixed route providers out there. Yes, yesterday we gave a talk on rural transit and what the availability is. A lot of people are very familiar with the UTA when you say that, and they know it's a fixed route, it's heavy rail, it's light rail. Step out of the urban area. Go up to Park City, go up to Logan, down to St. George. There's fixed route providers out there as well. And when I say fixed route, that's stop, that's on a regular schedule. Fairly large 30, 50 seat bus. Okay, we help them procure vehicles. We can help them with operational monies and construction of facilities, both out of 5311, 5339 funds. You see down there Navajo and U-Transit as well. They've got systems that they operate on schedule, and again, SunTrans, we do or don't have an interest in some of their programs. As an application for money comes in, then we deal with that on an annual basis. Under the 5311 rural formula, one of the things I mentioned before was the inner-city bus. In the last year, we've got a new startup, and it's kind of a Greyhound style, rural city to city up to Salt Lake. We've got two routes that we initiated on kind of a test seed type program where we're helping them get off the ground on a 5-year contract. We're 1 year into it. The service is provided from Blanding to Salt Lake and Richfield to Salt Lake. They've got some really nice coaches that they're running, full-on Corsair conditioning, bathroom, Wi-Fi. They've got a delayed TV on it. Very nice, comfortable coach at pretty much the same cost it would cost you to drive your vehicle down to Moab, Blanding area. It's a transit-based trip. It connects in with Greyhound. You can actually go onto the Greyhound site, buy a ticket from Blanding, and through connection get to, say, Chicago. It's part of the Greyhound system interface, and because it interfaces with Greyhound, they provide a subsidy and they provide the match money, then we provide the federal money. So again, this is a startup. We did a study prior. What would be the higher demand routes that came out to be the Blanding, Salt Lake, and Richfield to Salt Lake. Their ridership is increasing. First year, I think we got 2,500 total trips. Blanding route's a lot more successful. It's running about half full most of the time. But the Richfield route's been a little slow, so we're trying to look at ways to bring marketing on that, along with the provider. They're looking at how to kind of shave costs and give a better service on that route. Again, when you're out on the highway, when you're driving Highway 6, 191, look for the elevated transit bus. So I said part of that intercity bus is Greyhound as well. We also provide a subsidy on the Highway 40 route. We're linking in with Colorado DOT that provides a subsidy on their side. So we've got a little stake in the route that goes from Denver to Salt Lake, and that bus actually goes on, I think, all the way to Reno. So part of their system, part of the interconnect. Again, when you buy the Greyhound ticket that you can get most anywhere from Portland to Chicago, down to Reno, Vegas, that type of movement in and out of the area. It also helps to link up with some of the fixed route providers when you get out in the rural area itself. Okay, so what are we getting for the money? For the $9 million a year? What type of trip making are we seeing in our specialized movement, the seniors, persons, disabilities? In the money that we provide in the assistance and the trip making, it's around 150,000 trips a year. And we know statewide that's more like $1 million, $1.2 million. So we're probably 10% of the specialized trip movement that's going on out in the rural area of the state. Through our fixed route monies, we know through those providers, the ones again that we have funding through, that we're moving around 3 to 4 million people a year that we have involvement with. So pretty good. Again, think the rural area. We know trip making in the urban area here along the Wasatch Front is pretty heavy, but there's a demand also out in the frontiers that's always been called. Kind of want to transition a little bit here how we spend some of that money. A chunk of it from the 10 and 11, 5310 and 5311 program goes to mobility management. As we interface with the AOGs, the Association of Government, we utilize a portion of the time of a planner that's in that area. Again, that they help to do the coordinated transit plan. They reach out to the providers that are in their area, that they do a coordinated meeting. And for that, then we've got a little bit of the money going their way. As you can see, a list of names here in each of the AOGs. If you aren't familiar with them, come to us, come to them. We can help through their planning and themselves identify some of the coordinated groups they're already working with, or if you know of a group that's out in that area that's providing specialized transit, maybe we can help get them some assistance funding. A lot of things that they're coming up with the coordinated service, but they're looking at voucher programs of people that first come into the system and are not aware of whether they're eligible to ride on the specialized transit or not. The voucher programs can be a first step to kind of get them into the overall system. We look at van pools as well, how to help serve some of the low-income riders and group trips. A lot of travel training. A lot of people aren't aware with that. There's wouldn't call it a stigma, but there's a lot of people that just don't, quote, know how to ride the bus. If you're a senior or a person with disability and you're not riding a fixed route system, the mobility manager or someone that they've appointed can come out, give a talk at a senior center about what it takes to ride the bus, or even physically ride the bus with them to calm any fears or knowledge what it takes on how to ride specialized transit. A lot of things that they also do, and one of the programs we're really looking forward to, if you look on the bottom there, is a one call, one click system. We've been working with UTA on a large grant, as well as a 211 system, call system, if you're aware of that, for different human services. Probably in the future, the next 2 to 4 years, we're trying to come up with a system that's just that. It's a one-call system to get a ride. It's not a taxi ride, but to link you in on these specialized services. Perhaps you're out in the rural area and you want to come up to Salt Lake. Is there a provider out there, or a chaining of trips that can do that? And is there assistance funding? So kind of looking forward to that. I hope that'll be a present we can give it another year or so. Again, as I said, we primarily deal with a lot of our monies the procurement of a vehicle. We primarily do a 22, 25, 29-foot vehicle, as well as a small accessory van. I want to thank, if you've been driving around, you've seen these sizes of vehicles out there a lot. You really just have to become aware of them. They're out there as part of the normal traffic stream, trying to get people to make trips. We just put an order in for 16 vehicles, a mix of the 22, 25, 29 footers. So should see some new vehicles out there on the street. Early spring, late winter here. We also provide operating dollars to a lot of the system operators that are out there. There's fixed routes that they're eligible for some of the money, where there's certain target groups that are along certain corridors on their fixed routes. So there's money that we can target toward the operation of that route. Say it's either a low income, there's a high propensity of low income, or seniors or persons with disabilities along that group that could ride fixed route transit. So we subsidize a little bit of that route, as well as their overall operating costs. It can be admin, oil, tires, some driver salaries. Again, it's limited assistance, but it helps in every case. Our third category of the monies we spend on are construction projects. We've had several projects of late. The next up and coming one is a new intermodal center, transfer center up at Kimball Junction in Park City. It's much like the transfer center that they have at the bottom of Main Street now. It's going to be out in Kimball. It's going to be a good interface from their system, the city and the county, and it's a good link then for trip making that comes into Salt Lake or goes on along the 80 corridor. There's a stop there now as part of the Highway 40 Greyhound bus that comes through. There's linkages there with a lot of their express buses that come up from Salt Lake that go back and forth to Park City. I think it's going to be a really good transfer center. We also just had a completion of a new park and ride lot up in Cache Valley, up in Logan, through Cache Valley Transit District. I think we should have a ribbon cutting on that pretty soon here, coming up in November. Some of the past projects we participated in were a new shared maintenance facility down in Cedar. There was a new bus wash that was built up in Park City. There was a driver, I don't know how to say it, it was a driver building, overnight building where I can't think of the name of the new center. Yeah, for some of the seasonal drivers up in Park City, that they can stay there. That was fun with a lot of FTA dollars. So how do you get your hands on the money? How do you participate in this? How do you play? We do an annual grant program based on those apportioned dollars. Yes, you just missed it. We did call for projects and letter of interest on that early September. We have our letter of interest. We selected the people to go on for their application. They will have their applications due by the end of this year. We'll sort through those based on the money available and try and, along with the coordinated project program list, and sort through those projects, give them priorities of the money. If you apply now, you're in the out year, you're 2017, 2018, pushing 2019. Again, our next funding round will start about a year from now. If you're looking to get in on this, give us a call. Get with the AOG, see what some of your needs are that you're aware of, or start talking to some of the people out there, some of the aging groups, county service groups, human service groups. There's a lot of players out there that we just haven't dealt with from year to year. But we're looking to push our money out the door. Who's city or county agency here? Okay. Anyone deal with a human service group directly now? Okay. Fixed route transit. Anybody from some of the transit agencies? Okay. So you're somewhat familiar with what I'm talking about. We deal with a lot of the specialized service groups and through the AOG. Again, if you're aware of a private nonprofit provider out there that's looking far away, also local city county agency that's looking for a way to add another vehicle to their fleet, it's an 80-20 match. A lot of the 22, 25-foot vehicles today are running between $50,000 and $60,000. So that would be $10,000 to $12,000 match for a local agency. That's a pretty good price to get your hands on one of these vehicles. Once you do get the vehicle, we have ownership. We have a lien on that title because we provided the 80%. And for that, then we double check, make sure your eligibility stays current, and that we're all going to follow the federal regs on that vehicle and the use of the vehicle and the money that follow with it. So that's kind of it for today. You guys got any questions or know of any groups that you want to get involved with? We can push it to the AOGs as well as ourselves.
On asset management.
I'm sorry, I can't.
Yeah, sorry. On the new NPRM that's out right now for asset management, will you be writing a statewide asset management plan?
Yes. Question is on the new regs that are coming out on asset management through FTA. Yes, we will be writing our plan on that, as well as the documentation that goes on that on the vehicles that we have an interest in. All those things that make up the asset management, say the communication equipment, vehicles themselves, capital items. So yeah, we'll be doing that for the rural area, for the areas that we support and the groups that we're dealing with.
So does all federal funding come through you for the rural areas, or do they get other federal funding by another means?
Yes, for the federal use for the rural area outside of the urbanized area. Again, Weber Davis, Salt Lake. All right, that's handled through UTA on the 5310 monies for senior persons with disability. It was a federal thing that came out through MAP 21 that the urban area money was a portion for the urbanized area, so they could select to receive that directly, and they did. But we coordinate with them. Like I said, there's a boundary, but there's not a boundary because we know those trips do an interchange. We're dealing with the sponsor over there at UTA, Brian Taylor, and the group that he's got up and running. So we're trying to make it a statewide effort, truly a statewide effort. Other questions, thought? Again, please contact the team, or if you know somebody that's looking for a vehicle, we'll help determine their eligibility. Thank you.